Of all the franchises that I love and continue to follow, Godzilla will always be my favorite one. This one is a bit personal since I grew up with the Big G. I had nearly every movie on disc back when Final Wars was the last one to come out. I have so many fond memories of just enjoying Godzilla and all of his iconic moments, whether they were awesome, emotional, or just straight up silly. And Godzilla content has been popping off lately, but if I gotta be honest, the MonsterVerse stuff has been a lot better than what Toho's doing. Yeah, it's been silly and goofy, but come on, it's fun as hell. I wasn't expecting Legendary to take so much inspiration from the Showa era, but I've been having a blast with it. Shin Godzilla was Toho's only win in their new Reiwa era. The only other things we got was a shitty anime trilogy and an even shittier anime series. Man, Godzilla and anime just don't mix well. Except for you. But when it was announced last year that there was going to be a new Gojira film being released in the States, I got kinda hyped. The trailers made it seem like -1 was going to be a remake, or at least a very modern rendition of the original film, which I wasn't bothered by because that's a really old film. But to my surprise, Godzilla -1 not only rivals the original movie, it succeeds it in so many ways, and is one of the best movies I have ever seen. Now hear me out. I know that may sound like a bold statement considering that Oppenheimer and Spider-Verse came out this year, but I swear this isn't just because I'm a biased G fan. This is genuinely a masterpiece of a film. For starters, this movie has actual characters. That's right, for the first time ever in this franchise, a Godzilla movie has actual, well-written, grounded characters. They aren't placed in the story half-assed just because it's an obligation, and they also aren't doing anything and just serve as set pieces for the monster action. These are characters, with stakes in the plot and actual arcs that are fulfilling. They have traits and are actually memorable. -1 has such a fantastic main character in Koichi. No, not you. Wait a minute. Never mind, I guess that is Koichi. Koichi is a failed kamikaze pilot who suffers from survivor's guilt and PTSD as he is haunted by his failures as a soldier and from the horrific kaiju he encountered. The human side of the story is so engaging that at times you kind of forget that you are watching a kaiju movie. He has such a heartwarming relationship with a woman named Noriko who's raising a child that isn't hers. Together they form an unlikely connection and attempt to be a family, and what the hell, when did this become an anime? This should not work in any world. You would think this very human story would either overshadow the Godzilla side of it, or feel too disconnected, but it doesn't. The story is very connected with Godzilla as he serves as the primary antagonist of Koichi. Now obviously Godzilla has been a bad guy before, many times. But this is the first time Godzilla is written for you to hate him. He isn't just a monster destroying Japan here, he's destroying one man's life. Godzilla killed all of those mechanics, which led Koichi to be ashamed. Godzilla attacked his friends, which put them in moral danger. Godzilla put the woman he loves in danger. Godzilla has usually been written to be a force of nature in most stories, whether he be fully evil or neutral or a good guy. And while that aspect of the character remains in this movie, he's also affecting the life of our main character, which builds upon a consistent rivalry between these two. The movie takes a lot of inspiration from Jaws, I feel like. A creature who is unintentionally causing one person turmoil, and he is the only one who can stop it. And Godzilla himself was just amazing in this movie. There's only 4 main sequences where he is the center of attention, but they are the most thrilling, heart-pumping, anxiety-inducing scenes that have topped many horror movies in my opinion. I also just really like the design choices made with this version of the character. For one, he's small. At least small compared to most recent versions, which I really appreciate. As of late, Godzilla has been getting portrayed as much larger, more badass, and powerful. I think Toho has taken that way too far, especially with the anime versions of the character. I fucking hate this plant. Making Godzilla smaller in this film makes him seem more tangible, and it also makes the conflict between him and Koichi feel more plausible. This movie would simply not work if Godzilla was 10,000 feet tall or something like that. And again, the fact that our characters in the movie are so well written that it elevates the Godzilla aspect. Our characters are constantly in the presence of Godzilla, which makes us more invested as they are in danger. They aren't far away looking at the destruction on the rooftops like most films in the franchise do. So while this version can't blow up a meteorite 20 times its size, or take a black hole straight to the face, he can do something much more personal. This Godzilla kills people, and not in massive waves to the point where the death seems too big to believe, This movie shows individual people dying. While most versions of the character are written to be like Darkseid, large and imposing and too powerful to contain, minus one Godzilla seems more like the Joker. This dude kills people and sells drugs to kids. This is by far one of my favorite versions of the character because of how much of an actual villain he is made out to be. This is the first time where whenever I saw Godzilla, I got nervous. I got anxious because I was worried about what would happen when he showed up. This is the first time where Godzilla has actually shown to be scary, and I absolutely fucking loved it. And I can't forget about the music. The franchise has always been so iconic with its music, and this movie is no exception. Not only do we have the classic theme redone in a modern way which nearly made me cry in the theater, there's also the original soundtrack with some beautifully haunting pieces that fulfill the dread and sorrow tone of the film. I also really love the political aspect of the story. So obviously Godzilla is an allegory for the dangers of nuclear weapons. That's something that's been attached to the character since the very beginning, and pretty much everyone knows it. And I was expecting that to be brought up again, but this time, they did something very different. There's actually no real theme about nuclear weapons here. The Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings are never brought up, and the dangers of those weapons are never addressed. The movie focuses more on the culture of Japan at the time. There are many scenes about how our characters feel about the Japanese government, and that it needs to change. There's one scene near the end of the movie that really exemplifies this theme of Japanese patriotism, and Godzilla himself is more of the physical manifestation of trauma and guilt, which ties back to Koichi's arc about needing to overcome it. And it's a really nice change of pace as Godzilla is a representation of the war itself instead of nuclear weapons, which furthers just how flexible the character can be. This movie is just so good, it's mind-boggling. It's a war drama, a slice-of-life anime, a commentary on the Japanese government, and a kaiju film all rolled into one amazing package. It's just one of those movies where every single piece fits together to create something truly amazing. It's not needlessly overcomplicated or convoluted. There aren't 30 minutes of exposition where the characters are just saying the most random shit. It's a simple story told very effectively. This is the movie Godzilla 2014 wanted to be so badly. This is the new bar set for all future films that want to tell a grounded Godzilla story. It's just perfect in every single way. The only gripe I have is that the CGI can look a little bad at times, which is a little sad to see since Suitmation has been iconic with the Godzilla films, and I kinda wish they used that a little bit. There's one scene where it's very clearly practical effects, and I kinda just wish they mixed that in a little more with the CGI. It could've looked really good, but this movie is just perfect. I was not expecting such an emotional ride with the Godzilla movie, and I'm so glad it's getting the reception it deserves. As a G fan and someone who enjoys movies, seeing the positive reviews and overwhelming praise warms my heart. Godzilla is such an important piece of my life, so to see this big lizard thrive warms my soul. This is my favorite movie of the year. This is my favorite Godzilla movie, and the more I think about it, this is now one of my favorite movies ever.